Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper. Not coming to you from SuiteRecording today. I'm coming to you from my house because of snow. But if you have a podcast or a video cast or an audio book, or if you need some footage shot, please check out Joe Gangemi at SuiteRecording. He's a great guy. He knows what he's doing, and he's very fair in his price. So reach out. Check out their website at hello@SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com, or email him at hello@SuiteRecording.com. Anyway, we have a great show today. We have some people. I haven't seen a few of you in a while, and we have someone who gave me a great bottle of wine at Christmas, and I drank that. And my first guest from Laurel Oak Wealth Management is Ann Morgano. How you doing, Joanne?
How you doing, Steve? How are you? Good to see you.
Next, from Comvia, we have Michael Piperno. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks so much for having me today.
And finally, from Ciaccia CPA, Meggan Ciaccia. How you doing, Meggan?
I'm great. Thanks for having me too.
So, Joanna, tell us a little more about what you do and your company.
Okay, I'm a financial advisor with Laurel Oak Wealth Management, which is an Ameriprise franchise. I've been an advisor for 16 years, so I work with clients on helping them reach their financial goals. One of the things that I love about Ameriprise and working with Laurel Oak Wealth Management is that I can really work with many types of clients. I can work with people that are just coming out of college and really get them into really good behavior and good habits. I also work with a special sector of women that have been recently divorced or suddenly single through, becoming widows, so through death. So it's very exciting for me because you really get to help people. And certainly I work with that suite of people that are about to retire. So their money has to be segmented differently and in the market a certain way and out of the market a certain way. So it's a very rewarding job, career. And I really help people manage their emotions too, because I like to say that the stock market, runs on two emotions. It's fear and greed. So, I just really enjoy what I'm doing. So thank you for having me today.
That's great. How about you, Michael? Tell us a little more about Comvia.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Comvia Group, we're a group of leadership, communication, and executive coaches. So what that means is we help people be better leaders for the people on their team. We help leaders also be better and more confident speakers and presenters. We do a lot of presentation coaching and rehearsals. And then we also help leaders make their teams more collaborative, more creative, and higher performing through interpersonal communication coaching and training. So I do a lot of workshops, in-person trainings, and then also a lot of one-on-one coaching for the leaders and managers that I coach.
And Meggan, tell us about CPA world.
Right. So I am, like you said, a CPA. We are a full service CPA and accounting firm in Seoul. We work with small to medium-sized businesses on anything from their daily bookkeeping all the way up to outsourced CFO work. Like Joanne, I love what I do because I work with all industries. I don't necessarily specialize in an industry. We work with businesses from startup all the way through their exit planning and succession planning for their businesses.
You all have interesting jobs, and I always find out everyone has a story. I want to know how you got to the position you're at today, because during the pandemic, a lot of people changed jobs, and a lot of people through the years, it's not like back in the day when people would stay at the same job for 25 or 30 years and wait for a watch. So everyone's changed. So Michael, how did you get to where you are today?
I'll try to keep it brief for you, Steve, because it's quite a long story, but you'll see the theme line I hope that you'll see is I've always been a teacher and lover of good communication. So I was a high school teacher when I first started my career. I wanted to be an actor. I didn't quite make it as in that career, but I fell in love with teaching, did that for a while, fell out of love with teaching at the high school level, moved into marketing, got really into financial services marketing, and then my career evolved into being a creative director in a medical communications firm. And that job transformed me because I realized I was really good at helping people communicate complex stuff in ways that the audiences would understand. So I used that opportunity of really finding something I was good at to start my own firm. So I started a branding agency that catered mainly to medical communications companies at first, and then full service life sciences and other industries as well. Built and scaled and sold that agency, had a great time with that. And then when it was time for my next chapter, I wanted to get back to teaching. I thought I was going to go back into academia because I was doing some adjuncting at universities, but I just wasn't ready to leave the business world. So I thought to myself, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, I'm going to create a company that helps business leaders with their communication. And that's how the Comvia Group was born. So I've been coaching and teaching on various ways for 30 years, but this is just the most recent incarnation of that with the Comvia Group. And like both Joanne and Meggan said, I love what I do. I love to wake up every day knowing, looking at the calendar and knowing that these people that I'm going to meet with today, or the people that I'm going to meet 2 weeks from now in training and in person, are there because they want to be better leaders. And I can be a catalyst to help them do that.
That's great, man. How about you, Meggan? What's your path?
Right. So my not so secret, dark secret is that I don't have a degree in accounting. My degree is in sociology. When I first graduated college, I was working in the mental health field, and I was a third of the way through my master's in social work when I basically was like, what am I doing? I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. I worked with a pretty tough population, and at one point I had a knife pulled on me in Atlantic City, and I think that was when, yeah, I don't want to do this. My dad's a CPA, so I started to kind of look that route. And I went back to take all the accounting classes that I needed to accounting and business to be able to sit for the CPA exam. The same week I started Accounting 101, I started working for my dad, and I never left. I worked for him starting in 2003. I became a licensed CPA in 2013, became a partner of the firm same time. And then going on 3 years ago, I bought my father out when he retired in 2021. So that was kind of my journey, not the traditional typical route that you hear from a CPA in any way.
How about you, Joanne?
I would say this is my second career, but I actually started in financial services. I was a vice president of marketing for a boutique firm in the 80s called WH Newbolds. I left that to go into advertising and healthcare marketing, but it was always bothering me that I should have gotten my licenses. I could do it. And, it was very male dominated back then. And even when I started 16 years ago, but throughout the course, I felt that women really needed help. They were definitely risk averse. And it was important to me to be a trusted advisor and to work as a fiduciary, always in the best interest of the client. So, I mean, it's been fast forward for the 16 years. I mean, it's a lot of education. And what I like most too is that everything is changing. The economy is constantly changing. You have so many factors in there to build portfolios and to, counsel clients. But it was, I would say this is Joanne 2.0. So I like to think of it that way. And I really wish this would have been 1.0. I kind of started out that way as a vice president in marketing. But, I think I was still young. I was 27, 28, and I was attracted to, something different. But then this was really, truly my love. So I'm here and I like it.
It's funny, all of you said earlier how much you love your job and you love it. That being said, I want to ask you, what challenges do you have in your job? I mean, what is a challenge you have that you really don't like? Because we can say we love everything. I can love my wife, but when she remakes the bed after I make it, I go down, I love her, but that's a challenge. It annoys me. But Meggan, what's a challenge or a challenge you face, a lot, or something that you don't really like about your job? Because like anything, as I said earlier, we can't love everything all the time.
Right. So there's two things really. The day-to-day operations of running the business. I really love what I do. I love working with finances and my clients, but the actual admin part of running the business, I just want to bang my head on the desk. When I was partners with my dad, he handled all of that, so I didn't have to. But I have a really great team. My sister-in-law is my assistant, so she's really taken a lot of that off my plate. So I've been able to find that. And it's really lonely. That's kind of the other thing that's so hard about the business. It's lonely being the leader of the group and not necessarily having the business partner that I was used to having, and being able to, take the full sole decision making off of myself. People don't understand sometimes how lonely it is being an entrepreneur, but there's people in the community that help it not be so lonely.
How about you, Michael?
Steve, I'm really good at helping other people present the best version of themselves and go out and get what they want. But the part of the business that I like the least is marketing myself and doing that work. And it's hard for me. And I have a marketing and branding background. I know how to do it. It's just not something I enjoy doing for myself. So I will facilitate and coach and create workshops and programs all day long and procrastinate telling anybody about them. So I actually had to hire a sales coach to keep me accountable for that.
It's crazy that procrastination is a big one of my big weaknesses. How about you, Joanne? What's one of your
I
challenges or
think for
weaknesses?
me, it's really onboarding clients, because there's so many balls in the air constantly, and you can never really complete one task at a time. You're waiting for a transfer form or a signature or the money to come in or a credit card number. So that's difficult for me, just because I like to, every day I come in, I like to write down what I need to do, but then you can't reach the client or the client's on vacation. So I always feel like there's a lot of balls up in the air. So we have a lot of checks and balances to make sure that when we're working together as a team, that we don't forget this or not forget to remind someone about that. The other thing for me is, because we're heavily regulated, I can't really market myself directly. So I have to always get approval for a podcast. I have to get approval to do something on LinkedIn. And it's never instant marketing for me, because I have to send it to them for approval. And I had to wait 2 days. By then, it's old news to me. I also have a television show on RVN TV, and it's called It's Your Money. So I work with a partner from another firm. But for my company to review it, there's a huge fee for that. And so I never have them review it. I'm approved to do it, but I can't promote that show directly, but my partner can. So those are some of a little obstacles for me, day to day.
It's funny when you mentioned the regulations, because I remember I saw something on LinkedIn, this guy who works for this one company. I'm like, wow, that's such a cool post. But then I saw 3 other people that work for the company and they had the exact same post. And I'm like, oh, okay, because it's all
Yeah.
from corporate. And I'm like, oh my God. So
Yes.
that's what you don't like about your job. What do you consider a strong point of your personality? I mean, I try to be, I'm funny. I try to make people laugh. That's one of my strong points. Michael, what's a strong point that you not only you possess, but you're proud of?
I'm proud of the fact, and people have told me this, and I do believe it about myself, is that I make people feel comfortable. And when you're a coach, that's critically important. And listen, I'm not the right coach for everybody. I want to work with the people who feel that I can help them, but also who feel like they can be open and honest with me in a safe space, and they know that I have their back and I'm there for them. So I feel like in my coaching work, I make people feel comfortable talking about things that maybe they're not talking to anyone else in their life about. And then also in workshops, I've been told, and it just makes me feel so proud that by the middle of the first day of a 2-day workshop, people feel completely safe being open and honest and working on themselves. Like, for example, a presentation skills workshop. Sometimes I'm videotaping people and we're looking at them back and we're critiquing each other. That space has to be safe. People have to be comfortable to feel good about being exposed like that. And I really think I do a good job of creating those environments for my clients.
How about you, Joanne?
I would say that I'm totally honest, and I think that people appreciate that. I have a lot of life skills, a life experience. So when I say to people, you are going to want to retire by the time you're 60 or 62, because you feel worn out by the time you reach that point. So it's best to prepare for that. And I also get a lot of people that want to get to a certain level and they start to compare themselves to their neighbors or other people. And I tell them that comparison is the thief of joy. Once you compare yourself to someone else, you just start to become miserable. The focus is on you, what we can do to help you get to your point. So I really think that people trust my honesty when I say, you're not going to get to that goal unless you do this, or you can get there, but you have to change certain things. And I help people, modify their spending behavior. And I think that they appreciate that.
The comparison things back, because I always compare myself to Bradley Cooper, and I always feel awful because I'm nothing
Okay,
like
so
him.
there, don't do that.
That's
That's a good
You're
case in
funnier
point.
than Bradley Cooper, Steve. Now, come on.
Maybe the Kevin Bacon in our area, because everybody links back to you. Maybe you can do that.
Maybe that. I mean,
7
how about you,
degrees of
Meggan?
separation.
I'd have to say I'm very dedicated. Like, I'm dedicated to my family, my team at work, my clients. Sometimes, I'm so dedicated, there's a lack of boundaries. But like, if I have a client that had a deadline of yesterday, you're gonna believe I'm gonna get whatever they need done, because I'm just truly dedicated. I have a client right now that has had a transition, and they called me yesterday, when can you stop out? I was out there this morning, because like, I know that what they need really hinges on me getting out there pretty quick, and I'm dedicated sometimes to a fault, but yeah.
Can I just underscore that? Our strengths can really be our kryptonite, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's a lot of what I discuss sometimes with leaders. Is they have these strengths, and they to some people it doesn't come off as a strength, and it's a blind spot for them. Like, I'm a self-confident guy, but I've been called arrogant, and that hurts my heart when I've been called arrogant. But I came off as arrogant to that person, even though I was well intended. So it's interesting. That's a lot of what I talk about in my practice too, Meggan.
Right, it's
Yeah,
very
it's
true.
funny. Yeah, it really is. Like, sometimes when I'm networking and I don't really know, like, you've reached a point in a conversation, I have an opener that I say, what is your greatest strength that's also your greatest weakness? And it gets people really thinking, and it really promotes a lot of dialogue that way.
Yeah.
You mentioned networking, and I want to hit this. We'll get to networking later, but I want to ask you right now, because we all do network. That's how I met you all. What is something when you meet someone and you want to refer them for business? Because we can't refer everybody, and there's some people we meet, and be honest, we just don't like. I mean, it's the way of the world. What is a characteristic in someone that you meet that you will feel confident referring? We've all been burnt. We referred someone and they haven't called, or they sat there and they just did a crappy job. But we're going to say with you, Joanne, what's a characteristic when you meet someone? What's a characteristic that you say, you know what? This person I can tell is good at what they do, and I will gladly refer them.
Well, certainly it has to be someone who's got good experience. So how do you determine that? I think you have to, that's on a go by go basis, but it has to also be someone that can connect with people. If you're the most intelligent person in the world and you can't relate to people, that's not going to work. So I like someone that has more friendly appeal, but I do want to make sure that they have the skills and abilities to accomplish the job.
How about you, Michael?
For me, everything that Joanne just said, but then I'd add like a trait that really helps me feel confident is when someone is a good listener and someone asks good questions, and I can tell that they're invested in a conversation with me. Like, that just tells me that this person is a true, probably solution person and not just a selling person. So when they can listen at that level where I know that I'm being heard and I know that they're doing their best to understand, then that credibility level definitely goes up a notch.
How about you, Meggan?
So it's not necessarily a characteristic or a trait that I can put into words. It's, when I refer, if a client calls me and asks me for an attorney or something, like, I want to feel confident that whoever I'm giving them is going to kind of treat my clients the same way that I treat them. Because we do treat our clients, our level of service is top notch in my firm. And if I send somebody to somebody and they treat them pretty poorly, I feel like it reflects bad on me. So it's really how I feel of how they're going to treat the client that I'm sending to them.
We're going to stay with networking, and I want to talk to you because I know both of you, Joanne and Meggan, are involved with NABO, which is it's a great group. You know, it's a different world. Women networking and guy networking. I mean, the guys walking like, hey, we're the big shot in the room. Women seem very helpful. The events I have been for NABO. That being said, what constitutes a good networking event to you and a bad networking event to you? We'll start with you, Meggan. What are you going in you like about a networking event? So oh, this is fun. Like you've been to cocktails with Cooper, Joanne. People just come out and it's chill. But
Yeah.
what constitutes something good and what constitutes something bad? You can say anything because the guy last week said, I love a good spread. There's good food. It has to have good food. And I said, well, at least he's honest. So how about you, Meggan? What do you?
So I don't necessarily look at networking good versus bad. I look at it as good versus great. I once had a coach use those words to me, like what's a good networking versus what's a great, because anything is good. Like sure, there's bad ones, but for the most part, anything is good. It's really looking for what that right opportunity is. So it's really what the difference between good and great. And a lot of times, like when I network, I don't really care about a program. I'm networking to connect with people. So the networking events that aren't really networking, it's 20 minutes and then you sit down for lunch and you don't really get a chance to connect. So for me, the networking that it's really the opportunity to connect and meet other people. I recently did a speed networking and in person. That was a really great opportunity because it wasn't typical networking. Like you knew what people wanted to really get in front of, and you were paired with somebody who was really looking to talk to a CPA or something like that. So that was a really great opportunity. I really don't, bad as when nobody shows up, because we've all been there for those, right? Where it's nobody just is there. It's not really well attended. So I'd have to say that would be a bad one if people just aren't showing up for the event.
How about you, Michael?
Quality over quantity for me. So a bad one for me is talking to a bunch of people and never really, as Meggan said, connecting. So a good networking event for me, to be honest with you, if I have one good conversation and educate someone about what I do and they get it and they're willing to consider me or tell someone else about me, that's great. Because the way my business works is it's a relationship business, like every business, but nobody's going to hire me until they like and trust me. So I really need people to get to know me. So if I plant that seed in a network event with one or two people, that's a win for me. And Steve, you provided that for me during COVID. You have these great networking groups where it wasn't just about speed and the elevator pitch. It was about getting into rooms with lower quantity people to have deeper conversations.
Thank you. Joanne, how about you?
Well, of course, I agree with what Meggan and Michael said. To me, it is the quality. And would you believe it? I'm very shy. So when I walk into these things, I don't like say, oh, hi, I'm the financial advisor you need and you should hire. Because the moment I tell people I am a financial advisor, they're like, oh, I have one. I have one. So I don't need you. And it just, so I cut that. I've learned that quickly. I always ask people what they do, what their interests are. And if I walk out with 3 contacts or 1 to 3, I feel that's successful. And then I follow up the next day by trying to have a virtual meeting with them to see how I can help them a little bit or help them with what they're doing and leverage some of my contacts that way. So that's been successful for me. But yeah, when I walk into these networking sessions, I'm like, oh God, I'm so shy. I really am shy.
Me too, Joanne. You may think presentation coach, she's a former wanted to be an actor, is going to be this extroverted person, but I'm
Yeah,
actually a classic introvert.
I
I will
know.
turn it on when it's going to help someone, and I love to do it. It's not fake at all. I love it. But put me in a room with a bunch of people and expect me to network, it takes a lot. And then by the time I'm done, I got to recharge. I'm wiped.
I
Wiped
know
out.
it's hard. It's hard
I'm
for me
actually I'm
too.
shy. I'm shy also, and people don't
Oh,
think of it,
Steve, I don't
but
believe that.
I do. I am. I will go if I go to a party. I don't need to be because I did over 2,000 comedy shows. I don't need to be funny. I don't need people to. I didn't even tell anyone I did comedy when I moved back here. And if I go to an event, I'll usually gravitate to the side and see if anyone comes up to me because that's where you get the best conversations, even at a party. If I meet someone, I'll talk to them all night if they're cool, if we have the same interests. But I'm not a snob. I don't need the bullshit. I don't need the bullshit that goes with it. So Anyway, so okay, well, you said you're shy. Both Michael and Joanne and Megan, I don't think you're shy because I've met you and I know you're not shy. But what makes you a good networker then? If you're shy, because you are good networkers, because you're on the show. I don't bring people I don't think or have any interesting stories or good networkers. What makes you a good networker, Joanne?
I don't know if I'm a good networker. I mean, I don't think I am. I don't really feel that way about myself, but I just try to be myself and try to be as authentic as possible when I'm there. And I think that people recognize that. I think if you are not yourself, people are smart. They pick that up. So, and I usually try to meet several people, but I really like to have more meaningful conversations. So that's kind of the way I do it. But thank you for the compliment.
How about you, Michael?
I think it's because of my love of relationships and forming them. And I'm very curious. I love to hear people's stories and what they do, and especially if it's different from my journey. And I just love to listen and facilitate conversation with people and to learn new things. So while I'm bad at the initial outreach, I'm
Mhm.
very good at making the connection. And I think that's what makes me a good networker once I get into that mode and am actually doing it, because again, I'll procrastinate it.
How about you, Meg?
So while I'm not shy, I do think sometimes I'm awkward. I'm not that person that's comfortable just walking up to somebody that I don't know and be like, "Hey, I'm Megan. What do you do?" But two things that have helped me. No, couple of years ago, there was a woman who worked for SJ Biz. She was a salesperson and she passed away a few years ago. But Andrea was always the person at a networking event that she seeked out the people that were kind of standing off to the side or that walked in and kind of was like looking around and clearly was new. And she
Mhm.
was that person. Like, she was never an
Mhm.
ambassador for the chambers, but she was that person that would walk up and start to talk with them. So after she passed away, I said, I'm going to try and be like Andrea. Like every networking event needs an Andrea, and so that helps. The other thing, Steve, you met me when I was president of Nobo, and that always helps people that aren't comfortable networking having a task at networking events. You know, when I was president of the chapter, there was always something to do. I was never just standing around waiting to talk to somebody. I was always busy, or somebody always needed to talk to me. So that helps for people that aren't comfortable with
Mhm.
networking. You know, get on a committee that you might, help at the check-in table. You know, you have something to do so you don't feel awkward going into those situations.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So we're all different points in our lives. You all have different second careers and whatever, and we all change as we get older. And what I mean, for me, what I thought was success, what I wanted was successful at 25 or 30, I probably would have been dead by now. It's just, that's just the life of a performer. But what now, in your point now in life, what do you define as success? Because it changes. It's some people, like when they're younger, they go, "Oh man, all I care about is a cool car," and I go, I have a little Kia. I'm fine with that. I don't care. What is Michael? What do you define as success for you personally?
Success for me is waking up every day and wanting to do the work that I do. See, my career, even though I've changed careers technically, when you look at it 4 times, it looks like it's all over the place. All of that, everything I've done in the past, I don't regret one bit, because it's gotten to me to where I am today. And where I am today is I get up and really look forward to the work that I'm going to do that day, because I feel truly that it's making a difference for others. So me being able to serve others, get paid for it, and and make a living by doing what I love so much is just really, really, really fulfilling for me.
How about you, Joanne?
I like that I'm in balance. And I think that because I'm at this age compared to being 20, 30, 40, trying to get and acquire and move up. I think this is a perfect age for me now and a perfect point in my life because I have balance. I have a sick mother, so I'm able to be there for her. And I know I can work late at night and get things done. So I like that. And I feel happy because I do other things. I'm part of a couple of big dinner groups. I get to meet people that way, but I love food. I love to eat. So, and I love to dream about it and travel. So I think that, this type of career, because I have this flexibility, it makes me happy and people feel that. And I think that's why they enjoy working with me. You don't want to work with someone who's miserable or a workaholic. And so I love the balance that I have at this point.
How about you, Megan?
So for me, success has a lot to do with mindset. Just kind of whatever mindset I've decided to show up that day. Like Michael, I show up to work and I love what I do. So that's kind of successful to me in a way that I'm happy with what I do. I'm able to support my family, my team, and their families. That's also a great, way to define success. But there was one day just recently that I said, I feel like it was a success that I knew that we had this big project that had to be done. We've changed a lot of software and processes over the last 6 months, and there was a project that had to be done that we had to update our entire database, and it was probably 20 hours of work. And the old me would have been like, oh, I'll just bang it out on a weekend sitting on the couch. And instead, I looked to see like, oh, what other resources do I have? And guess what? I paid my kids to do it, my 2 teenage boys. And to me, I'm like, that's success right there. The fact that I just didn't, like, I've completely shifted my entire mindset of what I do and what somebody else can do and how I choose to spend my time.
You bring up mindset. Mindset is very important. We all do sometimes wake up in a funk, and you can be the happiest person in the world. If I'm in a funk, I'll put music on. That's what gets me going. If you wake up in a funk, and Michael, because you deal with coaching and all this, if you wake up in a funk, and you're like, I have to meet a client, but I feel like shit. I just don't feel like I'm in a good mood. What do you do? What puts you in a better mood that makes you know that you can go do your job and you're going to get out of it?
It's funny. I sometimes taking a walk, getting some light,
Mhm.
getting outdoors, that'll really help me change the mindset. But sometimes you can't do that. And to be honest with you, I will look at testimonials of people that worked with me, or I'll think about someone who referred me to someone else because that meant I made that much of a difference for them. And that just totally changes it for me. It's like, okay, yeah, you might be a little bit annoyed with something or feeling a little imposter syndrome or whatever, but you know what? Let's flip that. Let's reframe that. Look at what you've done for other people and look how they've felt. Look how you've made them feel, and that just instantly turns it around for me.
How about you, Megan?
I'm a morning person, so I very rarely wake up in a funk. But the first thing I do almost every morning is work out, whether it's lift in the garage or on the Peloton. My funk may end up happening a little bit later in the day, like that 3 o'clock slump where it's just been so busy, or clients are calling, or it's just hectic chaos during tax season or something. And I'm really fortunate that I've surrounded myself with great people. My team is great. Like I said, my sister-in-law works for me. She practices and teaches yoga, so she brings that level of calm to the office when we need it. So
Mhm.
she's great when any of us in the office are in a funk. I have a really great support and network system with NAWBO, whether it's people I've met nationally or locally. So that kind of helps just to kind of talk to somebody about whatever's bothering me. And normally, if I get off the phone, I have a friend and a business partner in another business who's also a CPA. So she's really great. Her and I, if something's wrong with a client, just to call and whether it's to vent or to talk something through. So I reach out to the people that I've chosen to surround myself with to help get out of those slumps.
I
How about you,
do that
John?
too, Megan. That really, really helps, especially someone who's going to make me laugh.
Yeah.
Or
Well, we
just
should be
cry with
policy.
you or
Right.
I think it's a combination. I do a combination of both Megan and Michael. I know that physically, if you get moving, that's what I do. I will go on my Peloton. I will get a workout done, especially if it's a bad day, and I call my husband. I really, really do because he's so removed from what I do with my industry that, and, I can never reveal names or anything like that, but he always points to the future and to the success of the past. And he's very quick on the phone because he's got a busy job. So I got to get the advice and move on. And I usually do.
I'm still waiting for someone to say I light up the joint. I'm just waiting for it. One day someone's going to say it because it's legal now. You can. But I had a friend who used to sit there, and this guy would smoke every day, and I'd be like, "We're driving
Yeah.
to help him move," and I'm like, "Dude, we're moving. I'm helping you move." And I was like, "How do you all day?" But no one's answered that way, and it's fine.
Steve,
Well, let's get back.
when
Okay.
COVID first hit, like days after, right? Like businesses are shut down, and us as CPAs, like we're concerned. It's the middle of tax season. All of our clients are calling us with their horror stories and stuff. And I remember there was one of early nights I was laying in the bed and I was so upset and so worried. This is probably like day 4, right? My husband smokes. He's got PTSD, has had a medical card for years. And I remember him in bed and he's like blowing the smoke in front of my face. Like, maybe it'll help. I know you don't want it, but maybe it'll help.
Now, I got to ask you, who's been a role model in your life that you look at? Someone who's been a role model or a mentor to you that has helped you. And Joanne, we'll start with you. Do you have someone who's been a role model? It can be not in professional, it can be in personal. It can be, some people say, my father was a role model. My mom is a very strong role model to me because she took marketing classes at Temple in 1952. She was the only woman in her class, and she had a job at Campbell's Soup going into her senior year when she graduated. So that was she always put a good work ethic. And my dad put a good work ethic in me.
Yeah.
But who's been a role model for you, Joanne?
I think it was my father, because my father believed in all opportunities and to go for it and not to have fear. Whereas my mom, she always would hold me back. When I was going for my MBA, she was like, "What are you doing that for? You're going to get married, and you won't need that degree." So for me, my father was like always that driving force to, move to the next level and to educate yourself and invest in yourself through your education. And, I certainly miss him and our chats, and it's a big loss without having him.
How about you, Michael?
I'm going to give you two, one personal, one professional. Personally, I have to give props to my mother. She's is and always was one of the most empathetic people you could ever meet. And she demonstrated, raising 4 boys, demonstrated throughout her entire life what it means to be present with someone and truly be there with them in the moment and listen and make them feel like they're important. And then professionally, there's a gentleman named Pete Taft who was a client of mine when I had my agency, and he's a communication coach. And he basically mentored me about what communication and leadership coaching looks like, good communication and leadership coaching looks like. And he gave me opportunities to observe him and basically taught me how to do this part of my career. And I'll always be grateful to him for that.
How about you, Meg?
My Aunt Laura. So it's my mom's youngest sister. She was in her early to mid 20s when she was diagnosed with MS, and she pretty much went right into a wheelchair. She was in the army when she was diagnosed, so her life completely changed. And I don't know how old she was. It was only within a few years after the diagnosis. She was at the finish line or near the finish line of the Boston Marathon as a spectator, and she saw the wheelchair athletes cross the finish line. And she's like, "What am I doing sitting here? I should be doing something like that too." She went on to compete in so many games. She did 3 Paralympics in track and field, 88 in Seoul, Barcelona, and then retired in Atlanta in 96.
Wow, that's so
And
impressive.
then it gets better. She retired at that point, and then in 2006, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And after beating breast cancer, there is an adaptive boathouse along the Schuylkill in Philly, and she started rowing to gain her strength back. And in 2008, at like 52, she competed in Beijing in rowing and came home with a bronze medal competing against like
Wow.
three.
That's
That is
awesome.
What a
wonderful.
That is
story.
Amazing. So
phenomenal.
just, you know, the
Yeah.
perseverance and the determination that my
Mhm.
aunt, you know, her entire life.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, she's always been a role model for me. And
She's a role model to me just from that story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's phenomenal. So here's one of my favorite parts of the show where I bitch about LinkedIn. But I'm going to before it because I love LinkedIn. Don't get me wrong. But the thing before though, I want to bitch about Facebook real quick when it comes to business acquaintances you become friends with. All of a sudden, they send you like a link to like this page, like this business. And it's like, well, if it's your business, I'll like it. But I don't know this business. And that's something that irks me because someone sent me this person I can't stand. They sent like this guy's business. I'm like, hell no, I'm not even like the guy. But LinkedIn, okay, I get a lot of my guests from LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn is very good. I know, Joanne, you're a little bit, you can't use it as good because
Right.
of the constraints of the industry.
Correct. Right.
The thing that's bothering me lately is a lot of these coaches and motivational speakers. It seems like their New Year's resolution was to tell me what my New Year's resolution should be. You know, they sit there and they go, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. That being said, what irks you about LinkedIn? And you can be honest. This is a safe space. No one, I don't give a shit if someone says, oh, if I don't mention people by name I don't like, but LinkedIn, there's stuff that bother people. What's something that bothers you about LinkedIn, Meggan?
the cold calling in your messages. A couple of years ago, I had somebody, I get it, you copy and paste, right? At least change your name. I forget the person's name, and it was a man's name too. It was like so and so, and then it was the copy and paste. My response back was like, "Hey, next time you copy and paste, maybe you should make sure you have the right person's name in it." It's so frustrating, and I know there's a time and a place for it. The ones that get past me in that, you know, the salesy pitch in the messaging are the people that are interacting with me on LinkedIn first, and then they send some kind of message rather than a straight cold call. And then it's another job to keep up on it, I feel like. So that's kind of tiring and frustrating, is trying to figure out the room in your schedule to interact with people on LinkedIn in addition to working your business.
How about you, Joanne? I know because this question might not be as easy for you because you can't use it like some of, but I'm sure you
Yeah, I
see
mean,
stuff.
I can like what people say, I can comment there, but I can't promote. And for me, LinkedIn is just really a big bragging spot. And I kind of look at that as Facebook too, you know, and I feel like it's can be isolating for people. You know, if you're on Facebook and you're only showing the great aspects of your life, and it just isolates other people that may not have that type of happiness in their life. For LinkedIn is like, I'm proud to share that I achieved this. It's very bragging to me. I'm really glad it's not an opportunity for me for referrals and all that, but I use it just to, you know, have a presence and to keep the brand alive. But everything that I post, it is, you know, pre-manufactured. And if I do something customized, it really takes years off of my life. So I don't do it.
How about you, Michael?
Yeah, LinkedIn is really my only active network. I left Facebook years ago, Instagram years ago, and I still have a Twitter or X account, but I barely on it because sometimes that's a very sad place to me when I scroll through Twitter. But LinkedIn, I do really love, actually. I think the one thing that irks me is similar to what Meggan said. You know, someone's been following me, they connect with me, I accept, and then 60 seconds later, I get that pitch. And that's not why I'm on LinkedIn, to be pitched. I get pitched enough by email all day long. So I'm very selective anymore. I used to have an open profile. I used to try to connect with as many people as possible. I had to treat it like a true network for me because time was wasting too much time, with all that sales calling that was coming through it. I will say that, Joanne, what you said, I agree. A lot of it is bragging. There's a lot of people with Steve, you talked about all this advice over and over again. I'm very active on it with my posts. I'm trying really hard to be personal in my posts, to talk about when I'm not feeling as great, to lift people up and cheer on people. So there are those of us that are out there, but I think the algorithms are just serving you what LinkedIn wants you to see that's going to keep you on the network. So it's a game. It is a game.
My LinkedIn is completely different from my Facebook. My Facebook is pictures of food I cook, stupid jokes, and pictures of me and my wife, or me and Al. I don't put any of the humor on LinkedIn because it's not the place for it. So
Well, it's funny, on Facebook with my television show, I don't post it, but my partner puts it on my page. And sometimes I tell him, Martin, I feel like it's just like too much. You know, I don't want first of all, I don't think anybody's going to sit through a half-hour show and watch it every week that we do it. But I tell him, and he still does it. So I have to like learn to pull that off myself.
Yeah,
So
you
when
have
it goes
to.
up there.
So here's a part of the show. I started a few months ago, and I really enjoy it because I personally don't read business books. Okay, I'm not a business book reader. Some people devour them. I know people, why read this? You know, what is a book that you have read? And it can be a non-business book. You know, I mean, I learned how to shoot Jack Daniels through my arm from reading The Dirt by Motley Crue, which I've never intravenously shot Jack Daniels. They did that. What's a book that you have read that has made a difference for you? It could be in the past, it could be recently. Michael, is there a book that you've read that you sat there and went, it really sticks out to you?
Yeah, there are several. I'm just trying to go through my brain as this question was coming. I think one of the most impactful ones that I've read in recent years is called You According to Them by Sarah Canaday. And the reason it's an interesting book, it's all about perception and perception management, which is something I help clients with. But so what it helped me do that book, because what she does in the book is she talks about how you're behaving and how it may be perceived by someone else. And she's got all these really great case studies, and you can see yourself in these sometimes. And it was really, for me, eye-opening to just see how you could be read by someone else. And then another one that's also in my space is Stand Out by Carol Kinsey Goldman. That's all about body language and executive presence, which is a really, really good read, because there's so much simple things that we all should be doing that we're not.
How about you, Joanne?
The book that most influenced me, I loved, is a Random Walk Down Wall Street. So I think that that's got the whole market perspective in there for 100 years. And I'm able really to pull from that for different clients, depending on the phase they're in. But I tend to be a fiction reader. So I belong to 2 book clubs and I run them. But you know, those books too that I've read about World War II, they've opened up traveling opportunities for me. I was able to go visit certain concentration camps based on the fiction that I read. So I give them a lot of credit too.
Okay, how about you, Meggan?
Yeah, I'm definitely a fiction. I read all the time, but I always want to read business books. I have a few. I start to read them. I'm get like a chapter or 2 in, and then I go back to fiction. But one of the books that I recently read, I love memoirs as well. I just read Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book called Be Useful. My son's recently into weightlifting, and this summer, him and I were in California, and we got up super early one day, like 4:30, and we drove the hour to the original Gold's Gym in Venice Beach and missed Arnold by like an hour. Not that we were going to see him, but it would have been cool. But anyway, his book is about like the 7 things that he stands for and that got him from where he was as a child to where he is now. And one of them that really resonated with me, it was his last one, the 7th one in the book, and it was shut your mouth and open your mind. And it's about, you know, like being quiet and just being open to the opportunities and, you know, being curious and listening to what other people have to say. And it's just the story of his life is amazing. And, you know, any of the 7 things that he talks about, anybody could apply to their lives.
If you haven't seen it, Netflix has a great documentary about him. I don't know if it's still, it's a 3-parter. It came out like a few months ago. His life is fascinating. I mean, you watch that, see if it's still there.
I'm sure Joe's watched it. I'll have to ask him.
It's great. So here's the final question. I always ask this. You meet someone who's getting out of trade school, high school, college, you know, they're starting their business life. They're starting they're, as my mom would say, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They want to go get them. What is advice that you would give to this person about what they should do to navigate their career and life? And we'll start with you, Joanne.
I really think that it's important that young kids strive for excellence and to be the best that they can be. And I like to tell them there's always room at the top for the best. Because I think we've been in a society of mediocrity. You know, kids that are on sports teams, they get the trophies, whether they've come in second or third, just for participating. So I really think that, you work on your learning as much as you can. And the best way to do that is to learn from the people that are around you. So kind of always work up with, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, because you will learn from them and their experiences can help you. And so that when you go through, a crisis or something difficult in your career, you have a mentor to work with. But I think that, there is always room for the top for the best.
How about you, Michael?
I would say live in the moment and for the future, and don't be too hard on yourself by looking in the past and looking at mistakes, because I really feel like young people, especially when they're entering the workforce, really try to be perfect, really worry they don't know enough, and they don't realize that we all understand where they're at, and they're not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, and they're going to make mistakes. And as long as you're moving forward with positive intent, you got it. So ask questions, make mistakes, fall down, let people help, and move forward, because that's the only way you learn and grow.
Meggan?
I love this question because I don't say the normal answer. My answer is be comfortable saying no. Especially when you're starting out, everybody will tell you, say yes to everything. Everything's an opportunity. Take advantage of every opportunity, but not every opportunity is the right opportunity. So rather than saying yes without thinking, really think things through before you say yes. And like I said, it's okay saying no to something if it's not the right thing for you in that time. So yeah, the more comfortable any of us are in saying no, the stronger we're going to be when we can say yes.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Today was awesome. I love talking to you all. How can people get in touch with you, Joanne? How can someone get in touch with you?
They can reach me at Ameriprise. My number there is 856-797-0200, extension 128. I'm located right on Route 73, close in Marlton. So that's the best way. And they can contact you too, Steve.
How about you, Michael?
Visit my websites. We are Comvia, W-E, the word A-R-E, and then Comvia, COMVIA.com. You could also reach me at michaelpiperno.com, my name, and of course on LinkedIn. I'm very active there.
Meggan?
Yep, the website's the best. You can see what we do, what we offer. It's Ciaccia, CCIA, and my email is Meggan with 2 G's, MEGGAN at ciacciacpa.com.
People, you can reach me at the Coop Tank at yahoo.com. If you want to advertise on the show, please reach out to me. The people who do this show are very successful and popular individuals, and the people who watch it are a lot of shakers and movers in the business world. So it's a great way to get your word out about you. Also, Saturday, February 24th, I will be doing stand-up comedy at Pizzeria Uno right there on Maple Shade. I perform there every 6 months. It's a great show, so come out to that. And if you're a business professional looking to network, Wednesday, February 7th, it's Cocktails with Cooper. It splits at Laurel Lane. We usually get about 40 to 50 people. Just come in, you pay your own tab. It's very chill. And also, don't forget SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com. Reach out to Joe, the producer of my show. He's a great guy. He does a great job. You can reach him at hello@SUITE recording.com. Anyway, I'm Steve Cooper, and I will talk to you guys all next time.